Hey guys, it's Mike EV. I'm here again, getting a two for today. So I was out and about. It was my buddy's birthday today, and I made a stop on the way home at one of my local convenience stores that I like to hit whenever I go out his way. He's all the way out in Callahan, so I kind of have to do a cruise through and stop at this one spot because I know the guys there. I like to BS with them, and it came up about the recession. Somehow we were just going back and forth. He was talking about hustles people are having to do to get by, working two or three jobs, maybe some illicit things that aren't exactly approved. So, you know, and I asked him, I said, "How old are you?" And old dude said he was 24 years old. And it's like, okay, so, however long ago 2008 was, uh, you're a little homie back then. You're a little dude. So I said, okay. So yeah, you probably don't know what the field's going to be like on this. So, he and I kind of went back and forth. Had to just kind of explain what the deal's going to be. And I don't think a lot of people his age and a little bit younger, these are the folks that are probably just now getting out of like their second year of college, um, or that are, they're just now getting the gumption to get out of mom and daddy's house. So these folks don't know what's coming their way. So I figure I would explain this to folks so that they can get an idea of what they can come to expect from a recession. So, uh, I lived through this. This was something that I went through. This was in my lifetime, and it doesn't feel like it was that long ago that I was holding down three jobs, and averaging about 15 to 20 hours a week between all three jobs. So we run off of a thing where we're beholden to the shareholders in this country. So, for those of you that are not involved with investments or investment banking, or you haven't gone out and got on Robinhood or any of these other trading platforms, you don't understand any of this. But at the end of the day, you put your money in something and you're expecting to get your money back out. And there's a lot of people like that out there. Now, some of them may be other corporations that own other corporations, hedge funds that own other hedge funds. So if you don't understand that whole concept, then that's okay, but that wrecks the little guy's life. So what happens in that situation is as we get further and further in on this recession that we're going into, which all the indicators are there. The housing market's starting to fall off, prices of things are going up, our dollar's not worth as much money right now. So when this happens, these are all key indicators that we're going into a recession. And it's not financial advice, so don't try and peg me for that. This is just me stating what's out there. So as you go into these recessions and you see these key indications of that, what's going to start to happen is all these financial guys are going to get nervous. And these are people that have pull with companies. These are the big shareholders. These are people that own 3% plus of these companies. And so when you have a big enough stake in a company where you can go to a shareholders meeting and you say, hey, our shares went from $2.50 a share down to $2.10 a share. You guys got to do something about it. And when this one guy has that much pull, he's going to go in and he's going to wreck a whole bunch of people's day. That's how you get layoffs. Amazon just announced that they're laying off 18,000 people. So, this is a sign of what's going to come. And when you're a young person in your early 20s, or even just someone who's just turning 18, and you're going into a recession, you're going to run into some unusual things. Now, I got to give it to this younger generation. They're unbelievably smart with the way that they can make ways to make up money on a side hustle. I got to give it to them for that. They're hustling great. But this stuff dries up when no one can afford to do this kind of stuff. So this all goes back to what I was saying, where, at the end of the day, if you can't hustle because nobody's got any money to hustle, and you can't go to work, like literally in this recession, people are not going to be able to go to work. I went to school. I learned a trade. And when I got out with this trade, people said you had in a recession, the job requirements get strict. In good times, they get relaxed because they need more people. In tough times, they need people that have skill. And this is just a factor of time. And young folks, they don't have time on their side because they ain't been around long enough. So what they run into is you see a bunch of old guys bagging groceries because they've got time under their belt when the 15s and the 16-year-olds can't get a job and hold it down. And that old guy's only clocking 5 hours a week. So this is going to come down the pipe. And these young folks are going to be the ones that are going to have to bear the brunt of this. Now, you're going to have, like I said, old guys. When I say old guys, I mean, you're going to have a 73-year-old man fighting over a job that normally a 15-year-old wouldn't take if you offered it to him, let alone, for whatever minimum wage is in that area. Now, like I said, I went through this in 2008. You could not get a job unless you knew somebody that was going to vouch for you and say, yeah, this guy's worth the time. Companies spend on average between twelve to $36,000 a year to train somebody. It's expensive to bring someone in the door. It's expensive to fire somebody. And it's not as simple as, hey, today's my last day, whatever, forget you guys. I'm out the door. No notice, no 2 weeks, no nothing. To actually terminate someone, it's not just the person walking out the door, it's the HR person that has to process their paperwork out. That HR person has to notify insurance companies. They have to notify, uh, you know, they have to notify somebody in the government. Then there's a ripple effect that when you walk out the door somewhere, if you just rage quit on a place and you just like, yeah, whatever, forget this, I'm not going to work no more tomorrow. That costs that company money all the way up the chain. And sometimes that can even trigger other things that cost the company money beyond that. I know that, having been in management before and having to go through all these classes and these HR lessons, that someone leaving is a ton of money walking out the door. Shoot. Uh, Even when I wasn't a manager working for the one repair shop, that was a corporate repair shop, when I walked out the door, they lost $500,000 a year just by me walking out. And if they would have just kept me happy, they wouldn't have lost that $500,000 a year because I was raking in $12,000 to $17,000 a week in sales. So, but I digress. That's not the recession side of this. So, a little bit about what happens in the recession. So, this is from my lesson last time. I learned this lesson from the School of Hard Knocks. I was there, I went through it. So, about 2008, um, I was still in high school. I was a young buck, and I worked a part-time gig. The most I could work in the state of Florida was 28 hours a week. So they cut me off the legs at 25. So they had a buffer there. So if I needed to stay over for whatever reason, I could. And everything was circling the toilet. Now, keep in mind, this is just one job. Um, so me being young and dumb and not knowing the world of things is something that people that age suffer from. A job was just a job outside of school. It was something extracurricular, and it showed in my work ethic. So I had other people around me that worked harder than I did. And granted, this was just this was a fast food restaurant. This is corporate chain BS uh, job, no skill needed whatsoever. So, so needless to say, I lost the job, uh, and went to college and learned a trade. And I tried to work throughout college. Now, what I ran into when I was in college was the jobs started drying up. You used to be able to say, "Oh, I'm in college," and they would hire you. You work your little 15 hours a week at a part time gig, and that was it. Or 20 hours a week, 25 hours a week. Hey, I know you're in college. Can you work full time? Can you do 36 hours a week? That didn't happen from 2008 to 2013. I held down three jobs and I got lucky. I moved in with a roommate who had friends that became my friends. And one of them worked for a dollar store, one of them ran a trucking company. And there happened to be the automotive chain that I worked at on the corner that I frequented. Now, in this time frame, and I'm calling a recession time from about 2008 to 2013. 2013 is when it really just kind of started to dry up and things bounced back. I mean, it was a hot minute that we had this recession. So I'm working three jobs throughout this thing, and it wasn't the same three jobs the whole time through. They would bounce you out in a heartbeat. I know one parts store that I worked for. Uh, they just went. I walked into work one day, and they called a meeting, and they just said, "Yeah, they're closing the store." Sorry. And I had been there for a month. I was new. They had just hired me. And like I said, it was a month. I made $810 that month. That's all that I made working at that location. So, um, so yeah, that was a month after I hired. Like they came in and said, "Hey, sorry, uh, this one company's not buying enough parts from us. Everybody, turn your shirts in. Don't try to go to any of the stores because none of the stores have hours to take you. We're just all laid off. You know, uh, if something comes up, you guys will be first on the list to get another job." And so I applied and I'd call and call and call. And they said, "Well, we don't have any hours. Our guys don't even make 8 hours a week right now." And so the stores were being run by the managers, and you would see that a lot everywhere that you went. There'd be no staff. And you'd go workplaces and they'd say, "Well, we want to hire people, but we can't. We don't have enough people to do what we need to do." Um, and that happens in a recession. You don't have enough people. Businesses suffer because they don't have enough people. There's more loss because you don't have people floating around on the floor, on the sales floor, to sit there and say, "Hey, put that back. You can't steal that." So, companies lose money in a recession because of that. So, I worked my three jobs. Um, and like I said, most weeks I was lucky if I made 20 hours, 15 hours a week because it's just no hours. There would be weeks I'd go up to work and I'd beg, "Hey, can I pick up an hour or two here or there?" They're like, "No, we're sorry, we have no hours." And it would be nothing but managers running. This was a dollar store. Um this was working in a retail establishment, a couple retail establishments. There are no hours. And that goes back to the shareholder thing. They dictate that. Um, when the easiest way to save money is by cutting your payroll. That's from being a manager. I've had to do that. I've legitimately had to go to someone that I know has two toddlers and a newborn at home and a wife that's not working and sit there and say, "I'm sorry, you can't work today." I've had to be the jerk in that position. So, you know, um, everybody was on food stamps. You have three jobs and you're on food stamps. You know, that's that's really what's coming down the pipe. I mean, I don't think people know that. You know, um, that's that was a big deal. I was on food stamps. Like I'm making I'm lucky if I'm making $600 a month at that point. So, and I was educated. I had a degree and certifications. So I finally got lucky. Um, I was working at the dollar store for what feels like next to nothing. I worked about 6 hours a week there, putting stock on the shelves, and that was one day a week. Um, I uh, I worked for my friend that had a trucking company. Um, I did his yard and just about anything he asked me for $8 an hour. Back then, minimum wage was 7.21 an hour. So I made just a hair above minimum wage back then, and so I did that, and then every day for 2 months, I went back and forth to this auto. I can't say the chain just because of the way YouTube works and everything else. And I don't want my video dinged, but they were notorious for selling parts, accessories, and then they had a shop attached next to them. So you guys can read between the lines if you know anything about these places. This place is still around, but they don't sell parts anymore. So yeah, go if you're in one of these markets, where one of these places is, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I went to this place every day. Manager's name was Mike. Also, seemed like there were like five Mikes that worked there. Every day, I went in. I walked up there because I didn't have the money to put gas in my car. And I said, "Hey, I need a job. What's the deal with the job, man? Can I get a job? I heard you guys are hiring," because a friend of mine also worked there. And I was like, "I need a job. Can I come work for you guys?" You know, um, put on nice clothes, went up there every day. And finally, the manager caved and gave me a job. And I stayed there long after everybody that I was hired with and the people that were there before me left. There were only a handful of people that were there when I got the job there that hadn't left, and they had been there for 10 plus years. So, that's kind of what we have to look forward to with this recession, though, is things are going to be tough. Um, the grocery bill. I used to be able to go to the grocery store on 10 or 15 bucks, scoop up some TV dinners, kid stuff you eat when you're in high school and college. Some chicken nuggets, uh, a pack full of ramen, just some basic stuff to get me through 3 or 4 days, maybe a week. And it went from like 10 to 30 bucks or 15 to 30 bucks a week to 70 to 100. Um, I used to be able to throw 20 bucks in the tank and drive for a week. I had an AE 92 Corolla back then. It was an all, or no, it was an AE 95 because, or yeah, 95 because it was all track. It was all wheel drive. Um, that thing was good on gas until all that came down the pipe. You know, gas got expensive, so it went from like 2.25 a gallon to like 3.20 something a gallon, pretty close to the price it is now. So, that's another key thing that you look at for price wise. And it tells you you're getting into the recession. But yeah, so that's what it was. Everything just kind of went down the toilet. All my friends were in the same situation. Actually, most of my friends gave up on trying to find a job and moved back in with their parents and were living off of food stamps. So, that was a reality. You know, um, I had one friend, she had 4 kids, and that's how she paid for everything. She would get a fat food stamp check, and 500-600 bucks, I think, is what it was. She had 4 kids, and that was her income. That's how she fed the kids. She lived with her mama. Her mama was very patient. God rest her soul. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's how it went. Uh, you know, girls wanted to go on dates just because I had a car that I had a little bit of gas in. I could pick them up, take them out to the beach, afford to actually take them through McDonald's or, Chick-fil-A or someplace, $20 date, and I could actually afford it. And most guys back then couldn't afford that. Um, so that's what our future is going to be. It's going to be the Netflix and ramen noodles, you know. So if you can still afford the Netflix, but it is what it is. So, but yeah, so this is what you folks have to look forward to. Put some money in savings now, and consolidate what you need. Anything that you can live without that's a monthly subscription, go ahead and dump it now, because I don't see things getting better within the next couple years. Um, if this is a recession as bad as it was in 2008, you're gonna have to ride this out for a hot minute. And you know, it just is what it is. And this is a wave. It comes and it goes. There's highs and lows with this stuff. So stick it out, wait and see what happens. Maybe I'm wrong. It just This is the same vibe I got circa 2006, 2007, and then 2008 hit. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, I'm Mikey V. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, uh, and thanks for hanging out with me for a few minutes.